I don't remember the exact time. Somewhere between 2 and 3 a.m., maybe. But I do remember how quiet it was. Too quiet. I work night shifts at a small-town convenience store. It's not much, 2 humming fridges, a shelf of dusty snacks, cheap cigarettes, and a heavy steel storage room door that never quite shuts properly. The money's decent, $25 an hour to sit in silence. I get maybe 5 customers all night. Most nights, it feels like the building itself has forgotten it's alive. Except tonight. Tonight, it felt like the building had started watching. It started with the air. There was this faint breeze coming from beneath the storage room door. Not from the AC. Not from the front entrance. From under the door. At first, I thought maybe the freezer in the back was acting up, leaking air. But I checked. The freezers were fine. Nothing was open. Everything looked normal. Then I glanced at the time, 2:37 a.m. And that's when I heard it. A knock. From inside the storage room. 3 slow knocks. Tap, tap, tap. I froze. My coffee went cold in my hand. It's just the pipes, I told myself. But pipes don't knock. And definitely not from inside a locked room. I walked over slowly, heart thudding in my chest, and placed my hand on the doorknob. The steel was cold. Colder than it should have been. That's when it spoke. A voice. Muffled. Whispering through the door. Daniel. I backed away immediately. No one here knows my name. I don't wear a name tag. The only person who does is my manager, and he lives an hour out, long asleep by now. Then the voice came again. Daniel, open the door, it's cold. My mouth went dry. I pushed a chair against the door and backed away toward the counter. And then, as I reached the register, I heard one last thing, soft and calm, just before the silence returned. It's just the storage room, Daniel. Don't you remember? I stood behind the counter for what felt like an hour, staring at that steel door across the store. I didn't blink much. Didn't move. I just listened. But nothing else came. No more whispers. No knocks. Not even a creak from the building. Eventually, the silence became unbearable. That kind of silence where even your own breathing feels too loud. I turned the radio on low, static and weak pop music. Just enough to remind myself I was still here, in the real world. I didn't go near the storage room for the rest of my shift. When the sun started to rise, and light broke through the cracked windows, I felt my body finally exhale. Like something invisible had been pressing down on my lungs all night. I clocked out and left the store without restocking anything. Didn't even clean the coffee machine. Drove home with both hands gripping the wheel tight, eyes in the rear view the entire time. Sleep didn't come easy that day. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard that voice again. It's just the storage room, Daniel. Don't you remember? That line stuck with me. Why would it say that? That's not a phrase a person would use. Not like that. It felt deliberate. Like it was reminding me of something I should already know. But I've never been in that storage room for more than 5 minutes at a time. I stock shelves, mop once a week, refill the fridge, and that's it. Right? Later that night, before I left for my next shift, I checked my apartment door. Locked. Windows sealed. Everything felt normal, too normal. I grabbed my flashlight from under the sink and shoved it in my bag. If it spoke again tonight, I wasn't going to just listen. I arrived at the store just before 11 p.m. From the outside, it looked like any other night, neon open, sign flickering, pump lights casting a pale blue glow across the empty lot. But as I stepped inside, I felt it again. That pressure. The air was heavy, like walking underwater. And the moment the door closed behind me, every hair on my body stood up. I walked slowly to the counter, flicked on the overheads, and stood still, waiting. Everything was quiet. Except one thing. The storage room door was open. Just a crack. That door is built like a vault, heavy, squeaky, and always swings shut if left alone. I've never once seen it open on its own. I approached slowly, flashlight ready in my hand. The air coming from the crack was colder than the rest of the store. I could feel it on my knuckles. And then, without warning, I heard a soft rustle from inside. Not a voice. Not a knock. Just movement. Like someone shifting their weight slowly, scraping against cardboard boxes. I backed away and grabbed my phone to call my manager, just to hear another human voice. But when I pulled it out, the screen was black. Dead. It had 72% battery when I left home. I felt the cold more now, seeping into my bones. I had to shut that door. So I crept closer. Just as I reached out to push it shut, something whispered from inside. "That's not where you left me." I froze. My hand hovered inches from the door. "You were going to let me out, remember?" Then came the sound that broke me, a low, guttural scraping, like nails or claws dragging slowly across metal shelving. I slammed the door shut, twisted the lock hard, and shoved a mop bucket in front of it for good measure. Then I turned every light in the store on. Even the emergency backup fluorescents. I didn't sit down for the rest of the shift. I just watched the door. And it watched back. Because even locked, it kept breathing. 3:07 a.m. The store lights flickered, just once. Like a warning blink. I sat on the counter now, not behind it. Closer to the entrance. Closer to an exit. The mop bucket still blocked the storage room door, which hadn't moved, yet. But the silence around it had changed. It wasn't absence. It was waiting. Then, I swear to God, the doorknob turned. It twisted gently, just halfway, as if someone on the other side was testing how much pressure it would take to open. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Just watched. And then, it began to knock. Not the timid tapping from the night before. This was rhythmic. Calm. Intentional. 3 knocks. A pause. Then 3 more. Like it was trying to signal something. Like a code. I whispered to myself, "It can't open doors." But the door shifted again. Not much, maybe half an inch inward. Enough for the cold air to push out like a sigh. Enough to know the lock was failing. I grabbed the flashlight and aimed it at the gap. Something moved inside. Not a shadow, no. Shadows don't have shape like this. It was tall. Thin. Not fully formed, like smoke trying to become a person. I couldn't make out a face, but the outline of arms, long arms, hung at its sides. And then it spoke again. "You locked the wrong door, Daniel." I froze. "You think I live in that room? But I followed you home days ago." That's when I heard it. A knock. Not on the storage room door. But on the glass front door, behind me. Slowly, I turned around. Standing just outside, in the darkness, was a second figure. Same height. Same build. But this one had a face. My face. It looked at me. Tilted its head. And smiled. I stared at the thing through the glass. It didn't move. Just stood there. Same height, same hoodie, same jawline. Same tired eyes I saw every morning in the mirror, only emptier. Like someone had worn my face, but left the soul out. The front door was locked. I double-checked earlier. Still, I backed up a step. Then another. Behind me, the storage room door groaned quietly. Still shut. Still breathing. Two of them. One behind the glass. One behind the door. I was trapped between myself. The thing outside lifted its hand slowly and tapped a single finger on the glass. Not a knock, just a click. Like a signal. From behind me, the storage room responded, 3 slow knocks again. Louder this time. Confident. Click. Knock. 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 I backed toward the drink fridge, hands trembling. There was a baseball bat under the counter. I lunged for it, gripping it tight like a lifeline. Then I made the worst mistake of the night. I spoke. I don't know why. Maybe panic. Maybe instinct. But I said, out loud. "Who are you?" They answered in unison. The voice came from both sides of the store, from behind the door and behind the glass, and it wasn't mine anymore. We are what's left when places are forgotten. The lights flickered again. One of the fridges shorted with a loud pop. Sparks hit the floor. The smell of burnt plastic filled the air. And that's when the copy outside began to move. Not walk. Glide. It passed through the front wall like smoke passing through cloth. No sound. No broken glass. Just, in. It stood by the register and watched me, that same smile still frozen on its face. "You should have stayed afraid of the dark, Daniel." From behind, I heard the sound of metal dragging on tile. The storage room door was opening. The bat slipped in my sweaty grip. Behind me, the storage room door creaked open, slow, groaning hinges that hadn't made a sound in years. The air that spilled out was freezing. Not like cold storage, more like stepping into a place where warmth never existed. And still, the thing at the register, the thing wearing my face, stood there silently. Not blinking. Not moving. Just waiting. Waiting for me to choose. Fight one? Run from both? Or open the door myself? But then I noticed something strange. Subtle. The copy at the register. It was breathing. Its chest rose and fell, steadily. It blinked once. Then twice. It was becoming more real. I whispered, more to myself than anything. "You're not just copying me." It turned its head, just slightly. "No," it said. "We're replacing you." Then something stepped out of the storage room. I turned slowly, still clutching the bat, and saw the second one. It wasn't like the other. This one was unfinished. Taller than it should have been. Skin pale like wet wax. Fingers too long. Mouth wide but featureless, like the smile was just painted on skin. It didn't walk. It unfolded. And then it whispered, not out loud, but straight into my head. "Let us in, Daniel. Let us wear you. Let us leave this place." I took one step back. 2 versions of me. One too perfect. One not finished. And me, the original, caught in between. For the first time in my life, I didn't know if I was the real one anymore. Because they looked like me. But I didn't feel real at all. I didn't move. The perfect copy stood by the register, calm, composed, mine but cleaner. The unfinished thing behind me radiated cold, its head tilted just slightly, twitching like a puppet on old wires. I gripped the bat harder. "You're not real," I whispered. The one behind me stepped closer. "Neither are you." It said it without lips. The words just happened inside my skull. They felt wet and heavy, like they were spoken from behind bone. "You forgot the rules, Daniel. You left the door open once. We stepped through. My knees almost gave out. My memory stuttered. Had I once, just once, left the storage door unlocked? Maybe on my first week? The register copy took one slow step forward. Its shoes made no sound. It didn't blink now. Just watched. I backed toward the aisle. The lights in the ceiling flickered again. One by one, they went dark, aisle by aisle, until only a sick green glow from the drink fridge lit the room. That's when they spoke together. From both sides. We're what you leave behind in forgotten places. You gave us your face. Now give us your life. They moved closer. I screamed and swung the bat. It connected with something, a wet crunch, and I think it was the unfinished one. It let out a sound like a dozen whispers trying to scream at once. I ran. I didn't grab anything. I didn't look back. I ran out the front doors, across the empty parking lot, into the road, nearly tripping on the curb. I didn't stop until I saw headlights. A trucker. Real, loud, living. He slowed down, rolled his window, and asked if I was okay. I didn't answer. Because in the glass of the truck's window, I saw myself standing behind me. Smiling. I turned around, fast, heart thudding, breath stuck in my chest. No one was there. Just the empty stretch of road behind me. Cold air. Wind in the trees. The driver leaned farther out of the truck window. You okay, kid? I couldn't answer. I wanted to scream, no, I'm not okay, there's something wearing my skin and following me through reflections. But all that came out was a dry, broken, I think I need a ride. He didn't ask questions. Just unlocked the passenger door. I climbed in and stared down at my hands. They were shaking. But they still looked like my hands. Still mine. Right? The truck rolled away, headlights cutting through fog. I didn't look back at the store. I didn't have to. I could feel it. Something behind those dark windows watching me leave. And maybe something else already walking away in another direction. The driver, Steve, dropped me at a diner 2 towns over. I thanked him, then locked myself in the bathroom and stared into the mirror for 15 minutes. No movement. No blinking delay. No off rhythm. Still me. At least, for now. I quit the job that night. I didn't go back. Didn't collect my last check. I deleted the number from my phone, packed what I could carry, and left town before the sun came up. And for a while, it worked. I found a new apartment 3 states away. Started working at a hardware store. New coworkers. New life. Clean start. But then the dream started. At first, I'd wake up thinking I'd forgotten to lock the storage room again. Then I started dreaming I never left it at all. In one dream, I opened the storage room and found another me already stocking the shelves. It smiled without turning. Then whispered. We didn't let you out. Now, I leave lights on in every room. I don't look at mirrors after midnight. I never, ever, open closet doors in the dark. And I never work night shifts. But sometimes, just before I fall asleep, I hear it again. A quiet knock from nowhere. Tap. 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 And a voice that sounds a little too much like mine. Daniel. You left us unfinished. Weeks passed. But the feeling didn't. Even in a new apartment, new job, new state, something followed. Not physically, no. I never saw it again. But the echo of it was always there. In reflections. In faint whispers when I was half awake. In moments where the silence got too still. I started avoiding my own shadow. One night, while closing up the hardware store, I went into the back room to check inventory. Nothing unusual. Just boxes of nails, light bulbs, and paint thinner. But when I turned to leave, the door had closed behind me. I hadn't heard it. I hadn't touched it. And then, just like before, the air dropped 10 degrees. I stepped back, reaching for my flashlight, breath shallow, when I saw it. A mirror. Leaning against the far wall. Probably for sale. Probably left there for weeks. I had never noticed it before. But it noticed me. At first, it just showed my reflection. Then the lights flickered. And my reflection didn't flicker with them. I blinked. It didn't. I stepped back. It stepped forward. And then it pressed its hand flat against the other side of the mirror. My hand. Same watch. Same scar on the knuckle. Same nervous twitch in the thumb. It smiled. You moved. But we remember where you started. Then something behind me whispered. You never left the room, Daniel. You only woke up somewhere else. I spun around. Nothing. But when I turned back, the mirror was empty. No reflection. Just cold glass. And a single foggy word written across it. Soon. I covered the mirror with a blanket. Didn't move it. Didn't break it. Just covered it, like that would help. Like a sheet could keep something in. I told myself I imagined it. That the cold, the voice, the writing on the glass, it was stress. Trauma. A leftover glitch from that night at the gas station. But deep down, I knew. I hadn't left anything behind. I'd brought it with me. The next morning, I called in sick and drove 2 towns over to the only person I thought might believe me. Lena Reyes. She used to work overnights at a different gas station. A woman in her 30s, soft-spoken but always tired. I remembered her name from one of the handwritten notes I found in the old town archives. She quit in 2012 after a series of unexplained events. I found her living in a trailer just off a wooded road, surrounded by wind chimes and rows of salt poured carefully across every window. When she opened the door, she didn't look surprised to see me. She just stared and said, "It found you too, didn't it?" I nodded. My mouth was dry. "I didn't even open the door," I said. Lena shook her head. "You don't have to. All it needs is for you to hear it." She let me in. The air inside was thick with incense and silence. Every mirror in the place was broken or turned backward. Salt lines crisscrossed the floor. She handed me a cup of cold coffee and sat across from me. Then she told me the rules. It's not a ghost. It's not a demon. It's a room. A room that's hungry. It pretends to be places you've already been. But it's growing smarter. It learned how to travel. Through patterns. Through repetition. Through people. I whispered, "Why me?" She looked up slowly. "Because you listened." That night, I returned to my apartment to find the mirror uncovered. No wind. No one else inside. Just the sheet on the floor, and a second reflection now standing next to mine. It looked older. Like me, a year from now. And it whispered. "This time, we won't ask." I didn't sleep that night. Not with that mirror standing uncovered, and that version of me in it. Older, hollow-eyed, a version molded just far enough from reality to feel wrong. It didn't move again. It just stood there. Smiling. I stayed in the kitchen with every light on, my back to the fridge, eyes locked on the hallway in case it stepped out. But it never did. It didn't have to. It already knew where I was. At 4:13 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I hesitated. Then picked up. There was breathing. Not heavy. Not rushed. Just calm, deliberate, and near. Then it spoke. My voice, not just in tone, but my exact voice, complete with the way I speak when I'm nervous. It's getting easier, Daniel. Soon we won't need doors at all. Click. Deadline. At sunrise, I drove back to Lena's place. When I got there, the wind chimes were still. The door was unlocked. Salt lines across the windows, broken. Inside, everything was trashed. Books scattered. Mirrors shattered in fresh cracks. Her radio was still on, white noise hissing low. And in the middle of the floor, scrawled in red chalk. She let it in. She looked at her reflection. No sign of her. Just her coat hanging by the door. I ran out and didn't stop until I was back at my place, heart punching inside my chest. But when I opened the apartment door, I didn't step in. Because it wasn't my apartment anymore. It was the storage room. Crates stacked in the corners. Cold air brushing past my face. Fluorescent lights above buzzing low and sickly. I should have run. But my body wouldn't let me. My legs felt rooted to the floor, not heavy, not frozen, just claimed. Like the room had decided I didn't need the option to leave anymore. The figure in the mirror stood perfectly still. Its shape was like mine, but blurred, pulsing faintly at the edges like it was struggling to stay visible. Or maybe struggling to become solid. The door behind it, the one on the far wall, creaked open a few inches. And from the dark beyond, I heard the sound of something dragging itself forward. Not walking. Pulling. Across wood? No, tile. My apartment's tile floor. The thing in the mirror turned its head slowly and smiled. But this time, it didn't have my face. It had Lena's. Twisted, dried out, mouth too wide. Her lips barely moved, but I heard her voice, gurgling and thin. Help. I thought I could stop it. But the mirror isn't a window, Daniel. It's a door. And then her image flickered, eyes rolled back, and vanished completely. I stepped back. The mirror was now black glass. No reflection. No light. Just depth. And something was pushing from the inside. The surface of the mirror warped outward like water, bulging. Fingers. First two. Then a hand. Then a second. The hands were made of me. Same skin. Same scar. Same cracked nail on the thumb. It was trying to crawl out of the mirror. And then, it spoke aloud, for the first time. Daniel. There's no you without us anymore. I grabbed the nearest object I could, a metal floor lamp, and swung it full force at the glass. The mirror shattered. Silence. Then, a low hiss of wind. The cold vanished. The crates were gone. The door was gone. I was standing in my apartment again. Alone. The mirror shards lay at my feet, unmoving. But in every broken piece, scattered across the floor. My reflection was still staring up at me. And each one was different. Each shard glinted in the pale kitchen light. There must have been 30 of them. Large, jagged pieces, some no bigger than my palm, others like knives. And in every one, I was staring back. But none of them blinked when I did. None of them matched. One of the reflections was older. Bearded. Crying. Another, younger. Pale, with blood smeared across the collar of his hoodie. One was smiling. One was laughing. And one, the largest shard near my foot, was standing in a room I didn't recognize. Behind him, something was burning. It looked like my apartment, only older. Water-stained walls. Mold. He leaned closer in the reflection, until his face filled the shard's surface. And whispered. "We all broke through, Daniel. You're just the last one left." I stumbled back, breath shaking, hands trembling. My foot landed on a small shard, it sliced into my heel. I hissed in pain, but when I looked down, the blood that spilled onto the glass didn't reflect. It just sank into it, like the mirror was drinking it. The shards began to hum. Not loud. Just a faint vibration, like tuning forks held deep in your ears. My teeth hurt. My nose started to bleed. The air thinned, as if the room was growing higher, stretching vertically. And then they all began to twitch. The reflections moved. Independently. The bearded one started to scream silently, slamming his fists against the other side of the shard. The blood-covered version turned and walked away, disappearing into a hallway I didn't recognize. The one who laughed. He waved at me. Then held up a sign I couldn't see, until he flipped it around. "You're in the mirror now." And just like that, the lights in my apartment shut off. Total darkness. Except for the shards, each glowing now with soft, pulsing light from within. Like little windows. Or open doors. And from somewhere deep inside one of them, I heard my mother's voice. "Dinner's ready, sweetie. She's been dead for 6 years." I froze. That voice, it wasn't a recording. It wasn't static. It was alive. Soft, warm, familiar. "Dinner's ready, sweetie." It came again. Gentle. Full of love. Like it used to sound before the hospital. Before the morphine. Before the silence. My knees went weak. I dropped to the floor, shards glowing softly around me. My breath fogged in front of my face, even though the room wasn't cold anymore. I reached out to the shard where the voice had come from. It looked like my childhood home, the kitchen, perfectly preserved. My mother standing by the old stove in her blue sweater, the one with the stitched sunflowers. She looked alive. She turned toward me and smiled. "You're just in time." My fingers brushed the edge of the shard. And I felt heat. Not from my own body, from the other side. The warmth of a stove. The scent of garlic. A place that no longer existed, but was being recreated, in perfect detail, in the mirror. My head told me it was a trick. My heart didn't care. But then I heard something new. Behind her, in the kitchen window. A figure stood in the yard. Still. Tall. Watching. No face, just blur. Like a smudge on old film. My mother didn't notice. Or maybe, she couldn't. I stood up, backing away from the shard. My heel throbbed with blood, but I didn't care anymore. This wasn't a memory. It was a trap. One by one, the other shards flared brighter, each showing different places. Different versions of my life. Some were better. Some were worse. One shard showed me hanging in the storage room, eyes wide open. Another showed me sitting behind the register, unmoving, as dozens of customers passed by and never noticed my face wasn't blinking. Each one whispered something. Some familiar voices. Some versions of my own voice. But they all ended the same. "Come home, Daniel. You belong in the room." Then all the shards went dark, at the exact same moment. And I was alone. Until the door appeared. Same metal door as the storage room. Standing, impossibly, in the center of my apartment. No frame. No hinges. Just there. It creaked open 2 inches. And from behind it, I heard the only voice that ever truly terrified me. My own. "Daniel. You have 60 seconds to choose which of us gets to stay." The door stood open just enough to breathe. And from behind it, my own voice counted down. 60. My pulse slammed inside my ears. My body wouldn't move, but my thoughts were racing. I looked around the room. Shattered glass. Silent shadows. No reflection anymore, just open, empty black inside each shard, like tiny coffins of memory. The mirror door pulsed faint light from within. 55. There were versions of me in those shards. Some afraid. Some monstrous. Some, content. And me, the only version who still didn't understand which one I really was. I tried to speak. My throat was dry. What do you want? The voice from the door replied, calm and steady. We don't want you, Daniel. We want the room to have what it made. I blinked. It made me. It made all of you. Some broke. Some escaped. Some forgot. But only one can stay. Choose. 45. I stepped toward the door. And for the first time, I saw what lay beyond it. A long hallway, tiled like the back of the store, but lined with mirrors on both sides, stretching forever. Each mirror held a Daniel. Not moving. Not blinking. Just watching. Like they were waiting. One of them reached out and touched the glass. You were the last. The real one, maybe. The first. It doesn't matter now. I clenched my fists. Why do I have to choose? A second voice, soft, from behind me, from one of the shards. Because if you don't, we will. I turned back. The shards began to glow again. Brighter. Pulsing. And the door began to close. 30. I didn't think. I ran toward the door. And just before it shut, I threw something into it, the largest shard, the one that still showed the burning apartment. The one that whispered, "You're in the mirror now." The door slammed shut. The apartment cracked like glass. And then, silence. I woke up on the floor. Morning light. No mirror. No door. No voices. Just me. The wound on my foot was gone. No blood. The furniture was dusty, like no one had lived there for years. But my phone rang. Caller ID, Daniel, work. I let it ring. Then checked my reflection in the microwave door. It blinked with me. Moved with me. Still me. I think. But sometimes, late at night, when I pass by dark windows or polished floors, my reflection still smiles a second too late. And I remember what it said. You belong in the room. The end.